Thank you. How do our collective agreements affect the idea of the changes we want to make and any limitations we place upon ourselves? Again, remember this. You will have agreed to certain collective ideas. At the same time, the way you experience that collective agreement is through the creation of your version of the collective in your own reality. You follow me? So, even though you are engaged with the collective, the only way the collective agreement actually translates into your reality is through the filters of the representative symbols you've created in your reality to represent the collective. So you can tweak that as well. Make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, although then why do we have to?
Because it functions as a starting point. It functions as a guideline. It gives you some basis and some bearing so that you don't necessarily have to be consciously aware of everything. It's like having a little bit of an autopilot so that you don't necessarily have to watch every little gauge and every little control every single moment so that you can focus on what you prefer and know that the rest of it will automatically follow to a certain extent. Then where you want to actually truly create a change that's different from the collective in a way, then you can focus on that and know that the collective will still support that change because the collective agreement says we will support individual change to a certain point. You follow me? Now, sometimes you can stretch that point as well, but generally speaking, the collective will allow change to a certain point. That point is usually always beyond the point that is necessary for you to change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like a game with a set of ground rules.
Yes. And sometimes some of the ground rules can be changed through collective agreement, but also sometimes they can be changed on an individual basis. It just depends on how that serves everyone as well. Because again, the collective sometimes will agree that an individual can change all the ground rules. You understand? And therefore, you can take advantage of that, shall we call it, loophole in the collective. Because there is an overall consensus that sometimes a single individual has an insight that actually will allow the collective to function on a higher level. And so that availability, that opportunity is always there. All you need to do is find your particular expression of it, your particular tunnel, your particular doorway to walk through that represents your version of using that part of the collective agreement. And the best way to do that is to follow your passion. That's why our civilization is so dynamic and always changing, is because our collective agreement allows at any given moment an individual to spontaneously change the ground rules for everybody. And everybody's okay with that. So the ground rules are always changing, and we have a reality that collectively is expanding in so many different directions at once simultaneously that almost anything is possible in our reality. Make sense?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes? Yes, yes, yes.
So one individual can change the ground rules.
Yes.
What if everyone is not okay with it? I mean, I'm thinking of an example like Hitler,
Yes.
who changed the ground rules for many people.
Yes.
Now, were those people in agreement?
On one level, yes.
Okay, they were operating at a low frequency?
In some senses, yes, but also look at the whole idea from many different levels. This is not a condoning of bad behavior, but the idea is to understand that even something like that can function as an opportunity for everyone else to understand what they actually would like the ground rules to be. So that it's a, shall we say, example of helping clarify for you what you really do prefer by giving you a strong example of what you don't.
Right.
Because the way you have engineered many of your mentalities is that it's actually easier for you. You have made it easier to see the light by first understanding that there is darkness.
I understand.
So it can be used in a positive way, and so the collective can use it that way and allows it to happen to a certain point, but then there will be a shift where they will finally get the point of what the individual may be showing, and thus they can then use that to change the ground rules in the direction that they actually prefer collectively.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
But?
It does make sense, except I'm just looking at how we can avoid such a thing.
All right. Well, again, it's all about self-love, self-empowerment, instead of self-loathing, instead of self-diminishment. You follow?
Yes.
Because
yes.
if you diminish yourselves, if you loathe yourselves, if you segregate your consciousness and compartmentalize it in that way, there will always be a consciousness willing to come along and use that.
Okay, I see that.
So if you make it not probable that such a thing exists to be used, then no one, in a sense, will come in to play that game because that's not the game you're playing. They will incarnate somewhere where someone's playing that game. But if you make it so that you have learned from that game that you don't prefer to play that game anymore, then no one else will be able to come in and play that game because you're not playing with the same pieces anymore.
I understand that. I'm actually not worried so much about for myself. I just don't like that whole thing occurring. And I know that there are parts of the world, and I'm sure parts of other worlds, that have such games going on.
Oh, yes. But this is why it is helpful, shall we say, to share the idea with everyone that you are self-empowered. You can play that game if it serves you, but you don't have to play that game.
Right. I'm looking at my connection with other people.
Yes.
And
Which is still a reflection of your connection to yourself, too.
yes, but I'm looking at other people who are going through situations of that sort.
Yes. And what can you do to help?
What can I do to help? And
I just told you.
well, okay, but I
Yes.
feel somewhat of a connection.
Yes.
For me to look at that going on, to
Yes.
know what's going on, to focus on it,
Yes.
is it brings my frequency down, shall we say?
Why?
Because
Why
it's-
do you choose?
Oh, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Well, yes,
Again,
that's true.
yes.
Okay.
Listen to the words. This is what we talked about before.
Yes.
Listen to the way the belief guides you to a specific conclusion you don't prefer. It brings my frequency down.
Yes, that's true.
I choose to match that frequency is the correct response for a preferential point of view.
Okay, well, I actually don't prefer to have my attention on such things.
You can have attention and awareness on such things without choosing to let your frequency lower.
Well, I've actually done that as well.
All right,
But
then why not do that all the time?
I can do that all the time. I think I just kind of needed permission.
Then
to
give
do
yourself
that.
permission.
I have permission.
Then you can observe and help anyone in any situation because you also know they are you.
Yes.
And thus then you can reflect to them, this is how, you can reflect to them your knowledge that the state you prefer to be in is the state that will actually help them the most, whether they choose to match your frequency or not.
Yes, I
But
agree.
you don't need to match their frequency. And in fact, if you do, you're actually not helping them do anything but perpetuate the frequency they're on.
I agree. I think it was just my upbringing to make me feel
I
empathetic
understand.
and maybe sympathetic, but mostly empathetic.
Yes, empathy is really what you prefer.
Yes.
Sympathy reinforces the negative side.
Absolutely.
So, now that you know your energy does not have to go down, are you open to being of assistance when and where synchronicity brings it to you? And know that all you need to do is stay in the state of your preference, and by doing so, whether the other person gets it or not, you'll be giving them a reflection of what's possible for them too.
Absolutely.
And that's the way you help.
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One moment. One moment. One moment. One moment. What is your timing? It's 12 o'clock. Yes. We sensed the hunger. All right. We will resume this class after your refreshment break, and at that point we will deal perhaps with some further questions. For now, class dismissed.
Thank you, Bashar.
And I'll say, let us resume the class. All right, now, you all have nice lunch break? Yes. Are you all feeling fueled up? Yes. All right. I'm going to take a gamble. Jill? Would you go up to the board and remove number 6? Read it out loud. Lottery. Who wants to win the lottery? We'll see how many are telling the truth. Here's the simple point we are making with this idea. Thank you very much for your assistance. Many individuals on your planet, when they play such games as the lottery, in their mindset, more often than not, the majority of them will be thinking, I hope I pick the winning numbers. I hope I pick the winning numbers. I hope I pick the winning numbers. Here's the key. Remember that when you choose your numbers, whether by your own hand or you allow the machine to randomly choose for you, you are still choosing. But the key is not that you will pick the winning numbers. The key is you will pick numbers. You will shift to a reality where those are the winning numbers. You will bend the reality to your numbers, not the other way around. The difference in the mindset is profound, because when you go in saying, I want to pick the winning numbers, I hope I pick the winning numbers, I wish to pick the winning numbers, you're talking about the winning numbers, as if it's already decided what they will be. But it's not. Nothing has been drawn. So when you choose numbers from your passion, to play this game, the idea is to allow yourself to know that you can allow the reality to match your numbers, not your numbers to match the reality. The idea here also is to understand that when doing this, even though we understand on a physical level, in a physical mind level, many of you say you would like to win the lottery, many of you are really not as excited about it as you think. The idea is that that kind of game brings up within many of you many doubts, many beliefs, many definitions that allow you to process your relationship to the concept of wealth, your relationship to the concept of abundance. And that's how many of you use that opportunity. In that sense, anytime you play, as long as you allow yourself to use the outcome, whatever it is, to explore more thoroughly your relationship to the concept of wealth and abundance, then in that context, you have won. Because that's what most of you use that game for. I am not saying you cannot win, but remember, it's like anything else. If you're truly passionate about something, you bring it into manifestation. Most of you, contrary to what you may think, are actually not that passionate about the lottery as you are about doing the thing itself that you are passionate about. A lottery can be one way in which your reality may afford you the opportunity to do that thing, but it isn't always necessarily the easiest, quickest, and most enjoyable way. So, anytime you play, do so with the understanding that it is for the purpose of opening up for you an opportunity to get in touch with your relationship with abundance, your relationship with wealth, and if you use it that way, you will allow yourself to go into that game in the neutral state of being that represents your highest self, that would actually, so to speak, allow you the greatest probability of actually winning. Your relationship to the concept of wealth. We have begun to discuss this recently in the understanding that many of you also still are harboring the concepts that as you explore spirituality, that there is somehow a contradiction to the concept of physical wealth in having a spiritual life. Of course, there is no such thing. It is all wealth, spiritual wealth, physical wealth. It is all the same wealth expressed in different ways. And as you expand spiritually, there is absolutely no reason but the reasons you create for why physical abundance and physical wealth, those expressions cannot accompany the growth of your own spiritual wealth as well. If you find that you have a relationship with wealth that is conflicting or contradictory, or beliefs or definitions that do not allow you a clear understanding that these are one and the same things, and that one does not have to occur at the expense of another, then you will allow yourself to let all kinds of wealth and all kinds of abundance manifest themselves in perfect timing, whenever, wherever, and however it is required to reflect the unfolding of your life, the growth of yourself in a natural way. You all follow along with this? So when you play the lottery, play it to allow yourself to get in touch with your relationship with wealth and be in the state that you prefer to be, and you will win every time in some way. When winning in any way becomes equal to winning in any other way, you actually afford yourself the greatest probability of allowing abundance to come to you in that way, as well as other ways in which you play. Kevin, would you like to go and rip off the next number?
Number 7.
Yes. 7 for Kevin. Dimensions. You may also remove A and B in the same number. Yes? What do you see there? Several dots. Yes. And what do you imagine that means? Oh, all right, if you wish. All right. Thank you. Very, very good. The single dot converts into multiple dots over time. You may sit. Thank you for your help. What does this tell us? What this tells us is this. Dimensions go from one to another through the mechanism of time. Time is the dimensionalizer. Time takes the concept of a static idea, a static reality, and turns it, expands it into the next dimension. So imagine, as you see, that you have a dot, a point, a single space in that sense. Then, by adding the concept of that dot in time, as you understand the illusion, then you create a series of dots that represent the concept of the dot from one moment to the next. As you create the illusion of the same dot from one moment to the next, it creates a line, which is the next dimensional expression. When you take a line over time, the line in the next moment, and in the next, and in the next, and the next, and the next, you create a series of lines which create a plane. the next dimension. When you take a plane in the next moment, the next moment, the next moment, the next moment, you create a volume, the third dimension as you understand it. When you take the third dimension, the volume, and do it again and again and again and again and again in the concept of moment-to-moment time, you create the meta-volume, or the concept of parallel simultaneous realities, and so on and so on and so on. So the idea of dimensionality and the reason it is the concept of space-time is that space provides the initial seed for the dimension, but time is the water that allows it to grow. Time is what stretches the concept into your idea of dimensionality so that it can be experienced in the physical way, in a physical concept, as a process. Time, then, is what allows dimensionality to occur. So when you are thus then exploring the concept of expanding your dimensionality, all you really need to do is get into a state where you understand that time plays a part, and that as you allow it to convert into that mechanism, it will translate not so much as the experience of time, but will translate as the experience of timing. It will be intricately and intimately interwoven into the expansion of the dimension in such a way that timing incidents will occur in your life, and this is what's called synchronicity. So synchronicity is the physical reality experience of the time factor expanding your dimensionality. I'll say it again. Synchronicity is physical reality's way of showing you that everything exists all at once, but the experience of synchronicity in your lives, in physical reality, is your way of understanding that you are now connected very consciously to the dimension of time, the aspect of time that unfolds and expands you dimensionally and raises your frequency, raises your vibration, and lets you know consciously that you are connected to more than you were previously aware of. This is how all of that works together. Does that make some sense to you? All right. Now, we will get into some questions a little bit farther down the line, or down the plane, or down the volume. For now, let us push ahead in time a little bit further. Kaori, would you like to remove the number 8? And what do you find? POV. Thank you. You may sit. Point of view. Now, we have demonstrated this once before. We will demonstrate it again. It requires the 2 volunteers, so we will take Kevin and Kaori for this as volunteers. Thank you for volunteering. And we require a piece of paper with nothing else on it. Take a pen, and on that piece of paper, draw a dot at the top of the page, on both sides of the top of the page, whatever you deem the top to be. And we will do it right now. All right, you may place it between the channel's hands with the dot facing up toward the ceiling.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. You stand on one side, she stands on the other, both of you looking at the dot.
Okay.
Now, again, to aid and assist for those who have not experienced it, and for those listening in, what you are perceiving is a piece of paper that is facing up in a sense. I am holding between the channel's hands, and the dot is on the top. Each is looking at it, one from one side, one from the other, one from the right, one from the left. You each see your own dot, yes?
Yes.
All right. Tell me, which way is the dot moving, to the left or the right?
To the right.
To my left.
Yes. To your right and your left, even though there is only one motion, each perceives it to be moving in a different direction. Who's right? Who's wrong? Both are right. No one is wrong. A completely opposite point of view resulting in a completely opposite result, and both are correct. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You may take your paper. The idea here, again, is to remind yourselves that what you experience in your physical reality utterly depends upon your point of view. And even though you may have a completely opposite point of view from someone else, both are true. Because you're simply seeing the same one thing from a different angle, from a different point of view. And when you do that, you will get different results. Because everything is holographic, everything is multidimensional, everything contains the capacity to be many things. And it depends upon your point of view in terms of what aspect of that thing you will perceive. This is, again, another analogy of the big picture puzzle. Each of you are a puzzle piece. Each of you have a certain shape. Each of you fit uniquely into the puzzle next to each other to create the big picture. If you invalidate any piece of the puzzle, if you try to change that shape into something it is not, if you invalidate that point of view, no one gets to see the big picture. No one. So if you invalidate another, you invalidate yourself and your ability to tap into all that is in the most effortless way possible. So when you come across a situation where one person is saying, I truly see this, and another says, I truly see this, and it seems to be in opposition, that is a sparkling opportunity for you to stand squarely in the middle and understand the power of the paradox in the situation, because somewhere in the middle, both of those seemingly opposing points of view must somehow fit, must somehow come together in the understanding that the piece of paper is moving in one particular direction. But that single direction causes two different perceptions, and that's all right. Taking those two different perceptions and blending them back together can allow you to understand the direction in which the paper is actually moving, how it's actually moving, and give you a greater insight to the underlying structures of existence itself. So anytime you see those kinds of polarities, anytime you see those kinds of opposites or experience them in your life, allow yourself to become curious and excited about tracing them back to find out where is the center point in which those two seemingly opposing things would come together in one understanding. How this translates psychologically is as follows. Most opposition that exists on your planet comes from the concept of deeply unfulfilled wishes and desires. When someone is attempting to do something, no matter how they're doing it, they're attempting to fulfill a wish or a desire, for lack of a better term. So is everyone else. And the idea is that sometimes the ways in which people are doing it may seem to come in conflict for a variety of reasons based on belief systems, definitions, and behavioral tutelage. The idea, however, is to understand that even though when something looks as though it is in opposition on the surface, deep down it is not. Deep down it is not. Why? Because you're all the same one thing. How can one thing be in opposition to itself? It can't. Again, science of the obvious. The logic that leads from the known to the unknown is through the science of the obvious. When you know that somewhere, on some level, your desires are the same, it affords you an opportunity to remove the distracting surface features of how you're going about doing it and explore what are the true common fundamental issues that are common to both of the desires you wish to fulfill. What is it you actually both want fundamentally? When you find out what the fundamental wish is, then you can start, as you say, from scratch, from a clean slate, and explore, perhaps together, what are some other ways in which we can both achieve this desire, this wish? Because it isn't really that you have to achieve it in the way you thought you did. It is simply that there may be any number of other ways to achieve this thing, to manifest this thing, to create this idea. And when you take it back down to its most common denominator and let go of insisting that there has to be a particular way to do it, then you will find that there may be ways in which you are more in agreement than not about how to, because now you're focused on a common goal. You both know you really fundamentally have the same desire, the same wish, and you can now explore together, in a very powerful and integrated and positive way, all the different ways that that wish perhaps could be fulfilled that would also serve the best of all involved, of all concerned. Does this make some sense? All right. So this whole idea of point of view affects deeply many different levels of your lives, many different levels of your sociality, many different levels of your politics, many different levels of your economy, different levels of almost every aspect of your society. The idea is to always bring it down to the basic common denominator and move upward again from there in harmony, in synchronicity. And I guarantee when you do that, you will always find a way. There is always another way. You just need to be what? Creative and what? Imaginative enough to explore it and discover it. And believe me, it will always be there when you approach it that way. It will always be there. Why? Because the universe is infinite. What does infinite mean? Anything is possible. Not the universe is infinite except for this one little thing. The universe is unconditional except for this one condition. The universe is infinite, and within the context of your particular finite reality experience, there will still always be available to you some solution within those boundaries that represents the way that will work best for all involved, for all concerned. Because you are a collective reality as well as an individual one, and you do have agreements, and the agreement does contain an ability to find what works for everyone. If it didn't, it would never be capable of actually even existing as a society to begin with. Because whether you know it or not, you are all working in concert. Even when you disagree, you're still working in concert and agreeing to disagree. So the idea is to simply get a handle on the fact that it is a concert, find out what the fundamental underlying tune is that you're actually playing, and then rearrange the orchestration so that it makes sense for the entire symphony. That's all it takes. Willingness to do that, the excitement to know that it's possible, the excitement and passion to understand that it's available to you, and to do it, to act on it in that way. And in that state of being, it will be revealed to you. Always. 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 Now, Kirby, yes. Would you like to pull number 9? Yes. What do we have? The science of the obvious. This is simply the idea that puts a punctuation mark at the end of this sentence that we have been talking about. One thing leads to another. When you understand the fundamental concept that all is the same thing, every other concept leads from that. Let it be obvious. Anytime you find yourself coming into, again, a confusing situation, step back. Go back to the beginning. Let it be obvious. 9, the number of the cycle of completion. Obviousness will bring everything around full circle, will allow you to see everything holographically and holistically, will allow you to relax into the certainty, the conviction, and the commitment necessary to experience your reality in an obvious and effortless way. This does not mean there will not be mystery. This does not mean there will not be challenge. But if you approach the mystery and approach the challenge from the point of view of the obvious, with all of these fundamental basics we are talking about now, then by applying that, you will use the sharpest, clearest possible tools. You will allow yourself to let that issue become transparent. And in so doing, you will be able to incorporate it and integrate it within yourself in a very creative, fun, energetic, and loving way. Let it be obvious. Let it be obvious. Go for the obvious. Again, again, we simply cannot say this enough. It is that simple. When we say it is that simple, be aware whether or not your physical mind is translating that into a metaphor. Many times when we say it is that simple, humans think we mean it's that easy. It is easy, but what we really literally mean is creation is that simple. It's just one thing. We've already shown that with the idea of the prime radiant. It is as simple as it possibly can be. And out of that simpleness comes all of the rich complexity. But the rich complexity doesn't mean the universe is complicated. It just means that the simpleness is interacting with itself in a very rich, reflective manner. But fundamentally, all of that complexity, all of that richness is simply stemming from one simple thing. So let it be simple in all your endeavors, because it is that simple. We understand, because of the way many of you have been brought up, that one of the greatest difficulties you have is believing that things are that simple. Because you're taught many different kinds of belief systems, no pain, no gain, if it's not difficult, it's not worth it, and all of those ideas. Again, it doesn't mean you will not enjoy mystery and challenge and exploration. It doesn't mean that you don't need to discover things. But all of that can be fun if you want it to be, all of it. Both the discoveries in what you call the outer world and all the discoveries of the inner you. All of it can be equally an exploration that leads to treasure, because you are a treasure chest. You contain treasures beyond even your physical imagination's ability to conceive of. When you allow yourself to keep it simple, then you will be given the simple joy of uncovering and discovering and revealing yourself and to others in a way that will allow others to also derive simple reflection, simple joy, and know that they don't have to struggle, they don't have to strive, they can challenge themselves, they can explore, they can discover, but they do not have to suffer in any way, shape, or form. Not now, not anymore. Even if that was true at one time in your collective consciousness's idea of what it needed to get through this process, in this day and age that you have created with your collective agreement now on Earth, the only reason we are capable of having a class like this and revealing these ideas and sharing these ideas and reflecting these ideas and reminding you of these ideas is that it is no longer necessary in your collective agreement to suffer. It is now within your collective agreement to experience yourself in joy from moment to moment, day to day, however you wish to do it. It is your right. It is your choice. You can do it if you wish. The only reason we are having this discussion is because you have decided it is so. If you had not decided it was so, I wouldn't even be able to talk about these things with you. In fact, we probably wouldn't be able to talk with you at all, because we would still be so outside your reality, outside your idea of what is possible. Look at what is happening right here, right now. Again, even though you may not necessarily have to bring yourself in your physical reality way to empirically believe that I am an extraterrestrial consciousness in telepathic communication with a member of your species and speaking through that member of your species as a translation device to you, the point still is that if that is the case, it is, in that sense, indicative of what you are open to experiencing now, and that says a lot about the state of being you have chosen to be in. Even if it isn't an issue of me being an extraterrestrial, the channeling state itself is real. As we have said, even though physical reality is not empirically real, the experience is. So the idea of opening up and allowing through you all that is to come and express itself in whatever way, shape, or form it needs to represent your certainty, to represent your conviction, to represent your creativity, to represent your joy, to represent your love of self, let it do so. Let it be obvious. Let yourself be who you obviously were created to be, and then you will experience that unconditional love of all that is, buoying you up, moving you along, flowing you through life in an effortless, joyful dance to a wonderful orchestration of music. And that is actually really closer to the truth of what you are than the concept you have held of yourselves for thousands of years. You are light, you are energy, you are music, you are sound, you are wave, you are vibration, you are resonance, you are consciousness, interacting with itself in all ways it possibly can. You are sharing each other, sharing that particle with each other to experience yourselves in the way that you do. In a wonderfully complex dance, that particle creates all of you instantaneously, and every single one of you is a mirror for every other single one of you, and all of you together. Let that mirror reflect to you the obviousness of your divinity, because that's what this all is. It's all divinity expressing itself in all the ways that it can, and your part of it, your expression of it, is just as beautiful, just as valid, equal to all, equal in every way. Beautiful, valid, equal in every way to all expressions within creation. Equal in every way. Unique, yes, but equal. Obvious. It's obvious to us. The key is to allow it to be obvious to you. April,
Yeah.
would you like to remove item 10?
Okay. Only now.
Only now. This will be short and sweet. So we have already talked about this. And the idea is you already know this. You know you only exist in the now. And we simply use this opportunity to remind you once again, as we did last night of your time, one little extra point of view that can perhaps help you focus in on the true of the idea that there is only now, is because we know that many times humans, the physical brain, the physical personality, wants proof of this, wants proof of that. All well and good. But the point here is there is absolutely nothing you can do and absolutely no way you can actually prove the existence of the past. You cannot prove the existence of the future. You can only prove the existence of the now because you're in it. It is self-evident. This is all about not just obviousness, but self-evidence. It is self-evident and obvious that you exist now. Yes? 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 Thank you. It is not evident that you exist in a past. It is not evident that you exist in a future. There is no way to prove the existence of the past. Because even if you find an artifact you say came from the past, you're holding the artifact now. You're creating it now, in the present, in order to even know about it. So that artifact doesn't come from the past, it exists in the present. Therefore, again, following the lead of the science of the obvious, when you simply relax and accept the fact you cannot prove the existence of a past, you cannot prove the existence of a future, the only thing left is to understand that everything and anything you discover must simply be another version of now. Because that's the only thing you can prove exists, is now. So once again, from another perspective, you have a proof that now is all there is. Because you simply will never be capable of proving that there is such a thing as a past or a future. You just can't prove it. You can't prove it because it doesn't exist. It's just an illusion. You can prove there's an illusion because the illusion exists now. But it all exists now and always ever will. That's all I have to say about that. At this time now. April, let us take one more of the blue numbers. Do I? Do you? All right. Your class, what number do you want? And? Whole. All right. Who wants to volunteer to answer this one? Doesn't matter.
I'm answering the meaning of whole, correct?
You are answering the question I'm about to ask you. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Now, again, if you already know the answer to this riddle, don't say anything. Otherwise, answer freely. All right? Yes. Whole, in this case, is spelled H-O-L-E for those listening in. All right? Are you
Yes.
ready to answer the question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sir. Oh, all right. Are you listening?
Absolutely.
All right. Are you paying attention?
Fully.
Thank you. All right. How much soil is in a hole 1 yard by 1 yard by 1 yard deep?
None.
I told you not to answer.
Oh, shoot.
That's all right. It's all right. You are correct. There is no soil. in
Couldn't
the
help
hole.
it.
So the idea again is that you are truly beginning to pay attention. All right?
Cool.
Yes? Whatever temperature you want. Cool, hot, doesn't matter to me. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Bashar.
Let's go to number 3. In the brain teasers. What do we have?
We have 11 letters.
11 letters. All right, who wants to answer this one?
Come on, somebody's brave. Maybe we should have someone.
Be bold, be bold. That's another thing this class is all about.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the question?
I believe so.
Are you sure?
No, not really. But I'm going to try to be.
Well, all right, if you want. Or you can just be ready.
I'm ready.
All right, thank you. Are you sure?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Which 11-letter word does everyone always spell incorrectly?
None.
No. Would you like another guess?
Which 11 letter?
Which 11-letter word does everyone always spell incorrectly?
There couldn't be one.
There is. There is an 11-letter word everyone always spells incorrectly. Incorrectly. Are you beginning to get the point? Do you see how obvious that is when you let it be? And how your own inbred assumptions took you in a completely different direction? I actually told you the answer. Thank you for your participation.
Okay.
Did you have fun? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Are you sure you're ready for more? Oh, all right. Oh, listen to the. Oh, all right. Bring it on. Beat us up some more, Bashar. All right. Well, let's do a little change of pace, shall we? All right. You may, if you wish, pull the next number in the orange. 11. Oh, well, that's all right. That can have its advantages. We have already done the normal numbers 1 through 10. And now the next one is?
11. Oh, that's your favorite number, isn't it?
It is a number.
We have C sharp.
C sharp. You may sit if you wish.
Okay, the letter C and then the word sharp.
Yes, C sharp. Now, I think some of the double entendres might be immediately evident to anyone. C sharp is what we are attempting to create here, your ability to see sharply what's going on in your reality, what's going on within yourselves. However, we are also talking about this to the musically inclined. Many individuals have asked the question over and over, what is the tonal vibration of the earth? C sharp. So, anyone who wants to explore the idea of playing with C sharp, and in fact it's actually just slightly above C sharp, but anyone who wants to play with that tonally with any of the other tools we have also used, you will find that by allowing yourself to resonate within a bubble of noise, if you wish, music, if you wish, vibration, if you wish, of C sharp, it will allow you to identify, resonate harmoniously with the earth vibration. And that can really help amplify any other thing you do, any other permission slip, any other tool technique that you wish to undertake, any other ritual, anything even that you wish to read. If you will have, and it doesn't have to be loud, if you will immerse yourself in the tone of C sharp, you will find that clarity will begin to really come in. You will literally begin to see sharp more things. So, the earth itself, the earth vibration will support you, will back you up, will give you momentum, and allow you to feel again that things are becoming more effortless, more easy. For you will be really tapping into the power of the entire planet that way, the planet itself that way. And it will support you as it supports everything in nature. Now, playing C sharp also in certain locations through certain devices, amplified in certain ways, can also actually help realign and clarify some of what you would call your environmental pollution problems. By having a frequency that entrains all elements in that environment to vibrate in harmony with the earth vibration will actually allow the earth's natural cleansing ability to realign and recrystallize those things much more quickly. So playing that tone in certain environmental areas will aid and assist in balancing out the earth, and especially if you play it in what you would call certain sacred sites or power points. And you can amplify this if you wish with crystals. Again, it is a permission slip, but at the same time, crystals are representative to some degree of that clarity, of that alignment, of that resonance that the C sharp represents, that the earth vibration represents. So anytime you can reflect that back to the earth, you will create an amplification wave that will build and build and build and build and build and start to help accelerate all the processes that need to be accelerated to bring clarity back to the earth in a multitude of ways. You follow along? You can find that out yourself. That is part of your exploration. I believe you call it, homework? This is, after all, a class. So, Earth's vibration is actually a little higher than that now. Go and explore, you'll find out. Go and explore, you'll find out. As you explore, that process itself will put you in touch with certain things you need to know to be able to really take advantage of some of these things we are talking about. So in this case, and in most cases, the process is key, is important. So if you find that suddenly your curiosity is sparked by that, go find out. All right? All right. Now, what is your time frame at this moment? All right. One moment. We will take a little time for questions.
Hi, Bashar.
Andrew, you good day.
I have two questions, and one relates directly to what you've been talking about, so there's a synchronicity there.
All right.
My so-called, not so-called, my power has been increasing through my work, through my organization.
All right.
And I've discovered, or I realize that when I'm in very intense situations, I tend to get so stressed out, I choose to lose my temper or react in a negative manner.
All right. And why do you choose that? What do you think that will get you?
Well, I've been trying to understand this more, and I was... Okay.
Keep it simple.
All right.
Just answer the question. What do you think choosing that modality will get you?
I suppose attention to the person that I'm in communication with.
Why do you believe that will get you attention?
Well, in the situation that happened last week, I was my assistant was arguing with me or trying to talk, and she wouldn't let me speak.
Yes.
She just kept going on and on and on.
Yes.
And I was under a lot of stress and pressure from other things, and
see.
I yelled. And I hated myself afterwards for doing that.
I see. You like compounding this, yes?
Well, I choose not to consciously, and I want to
All
know
right.
how I can...
Was in your mind it ever a viable choice to simply walk away?
No, because the situation had to be addressed.
What makes you think walking away isn't addressing the situation? You see, you are coming into this scenario with a lot of assumptions, a lot of preconceived labels. When someone will not let you speak, walk away. Believe me, they'll stop talking. Once they stop talking, then you can come back.
Well, in other situations when this has happened, I discover that my voice and my tone when I'm communicating is sharp and
Yes.
negative.
Yes.
And so, but in a professional manner, I have to continue communicating, but it's a challenge for me to choose to do that in a different manner.
Yes. So choose. If you know that's your preference, choose. But the point is, when you give yourself the space to not have to answer, you will then have more ability to choose to answer in the way you prefer. You're just not giving yourself the space to not have to answer. And that's what's putting pressure on you. You don't have to answer when someone insists that you should or when you think the situation demands it. You don't have to. You need to really rethink the whole concept of structure here for yourself, because you keep imposing structure on yourself that forces you into a box that you don't like. And that's what makes you squeal, because you're stuck in that box of your own making. As soon as you realize you can simply open the box and walk away, then you will take the pressure off. Then you can ride the wave of what happens next in a manner that you prefer. You need to be a little bit more creative about your options, which I think would go hand in hand with an organization called Create Now.
Yes.
All right? Relaxation is not just relaxation. Relaxation is also backing off of your preconceived notions about how you think things need to be done. You need to relax those restrictions, relax those limitations, relax those parameters, and open up to new paradigms and new ways of doing things. And if it spontaneously hits you, when you suddenly realize you're not in the state you prefer to be, in that moment, get into the state you prefer to be. And even if you don't actually walk away, by allowing yourself to suddenly tune the other person out and get into the state you prefer to be, again, they'll stop talking, or at least they'll stop what they're saying and look at you and go, "Are you listening to me?" You're saying, "Oh, I apologize. My mind wandered off into a state I prefer to be in." There are any number of ways to address that. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a secret, all right? The most important thing you need to not be afraid of is you need to not be afraid of looking silly. You need to not be afraid of not looking what other people think of as professional. You can be professional, but you don't necessarily have to be professional in exactly the way others might expect you to be professional. And you will never really be as professional as you can be if you don't center yourself to be the person you are. Because what you really, truly desire to be is professional as the person you are, not professional in the way society thinks you ought to be, or in the way society has taught you to think you ought to be. Because then you're actually not being professional at all, because you're not being the profession of being yourself, which is the only profession you all have. So when you're attempting to be something you're not being professional.
That makes sense.
Yes. Then, when you are being your true professional self, anytime you need to communicate with someone, you will profess properly. Does that help?
It does. Does this relate to a lifetime or lifetimes I've had in Mayan? I was told that I had power and I was misusing it.
It is connected to some degree to this idea, but remember, that's not in the past.
Right. I know it's happening now.
You're cross-connecting to this idea. But nevertheless, that doesn't control you. It simply makes you aware that that might be one aspect of the process you're exploring. So it's not, in a sense, to be used as any kind of a controlling idea or an excuse or anything like that. Your awareness of that idea, of that other simultaneous concurrent life, simply is there to give you insight into how to transform the life you're living now in the way that you wish it to be. So if you recognize through that idea, that other incarnation, that there are issues of control here, then it gives you an opportunity to recognize that you can relax that control and allow true control to take over when you're working with the higher self, and not be so afraid of looking foolish, looking silly, looking unprofessional, doing something wrong, and all that. You need to really relax into who you are, and then you will say what you need to say in the way you need to say it, and you will not react, but respond appropriately to anyone else who might also be, as you say, out of sync.
Makes sense. Thank you. And I have a question for Terry Binkovitz, who was here last night. She and her partner took their 8.5-year-old. You can't talk about it?
Not now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question?
Yes. Hi, Bashar.
Andrew, you good day.
I have 2 quick questions for you.
Time's up. Not quick enough. Now,
One,
did the questions have to be quick?
well, they're easy. How about that?
All right.
I wanted to know if food really matters, what we eat. Meaning,
What an interesting question, and what an interesting way you put it.
Sure.
Does
And
food
can I add to that?
matter? Is matter food? Is food matter.
Very, very nice. I wanted to know, like, there's a lot of preservatives in food nowadays, and
Yes.
there's a lot of controversy between eating organic food and eating food with preservatives in it. And
Why is there controversy? In what way did the earth actually provide the food? Did it provide the food with preservatives on it?
No.
Then why is that even a question?
Well, my question is more, is it really important from a broader perspective what we're putting into our bodies? Is it really important to
For most
eat
of
organic?
you in your collective agreement, yes. Because most of you are abiding by the collective agreement that you will actually get an effect from what you call chemistry.
Okay, so it does matter.
Yes. I am not saying someone cannot transmute or transform that, but it is not really the job of most of you in this life. It is not really what most of you have chosen to spend your time focused on. The idea, therefore, is take the path of least resistance. Why spend a lot of time transmuting preservatives and pesticides on food when you can simply eat something that doesn't have them to begin with? Is that not just as transformative?
Good point.
Thank you. I often make some.
Thank you. That answers that question
Yes.
perfectly. My second question is that I have some telepathy, some telepathic abilities.
All of you are telepathic.
And I wanted to know, how can we increase our telepathic abilities? Or do you have any suggestions for that?
Oh, let me think about it. Again, I remind you this. Using the advantage of your language, remember, telepathy is really telempathy. It's emotionally activated. The more unconditional love you have, the more you can identify with others, the more you are on the same wavelength as them, you will have the same thoughts at the same time. That's what telepathy is. You're not reading anybody's mind. You're having the same thought at the same time because you're on the same frequency. So, empathy, telepathy, empathizing, vibrating in harmonic resonance with someone through loving them and loving yourself will make you more and more and more experientially telepathic. All right?
What about if you're not vibrationally aligned with that person?
Then you're left to your own thoughts.
And there's no way that you can read their mind or get into their thoughts?
Why would you want to if you're not vibrating on the same level?
Good point.
Thank you. There's another one.
Well, I just want to know if the possibility exists
To what?
to read someone's mind, even if they're
You're
not
not reading someone's mind. I'm telling you how it works mechanically. There is no such thing. You're the only one in your universe. You understand?
Yes.
There's no one else in your universe to read. You follow me? The idea of others is not your universe. So the notion of reading someone else's mind in your universe is simply reading your own. But the idea is that you use someone as a symbol to resonate with, to take yourself to a certain vibratory level that then allows you to identify with and as that person. You see, this is like tuning forks. If you have two tuning forks that are tuned to the same frequency, if you strike one, the other one will vibrate with it in harmony. But if the tuning forks are not on the same wavelength, they will not vibrate in harmony together unless you strike them both, but then they will create a different chord. If you want to vibrate on the same wavelength, you must identify with and as someone in all the ways possible so that when you then create the same frequency, you will have the same thoughts at the same time, and that is telepathy. You're not reading their mind directly, but you know what they're thinking because you're having the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same perspective at that moment, at least as closely as you can. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, what I'm telling you is that's the mechanism. Even though I understand you euphemistically and colloquially refer to it as reading someone else's mind, that's not actually what you're doing, even though you know what they're thinking. Does that help you?
Yes.
You see, that's why when you see people who are in love Don't they often know immediately what each other is thinking? Don't they finish each other's sentences all the time?
Yeah.
That's why. They're in love. They're vibrating in a harmonious, synchronous way on a very similar frequency level. So they have the same kinds of thoughts at the same time. That's what telepathy is. You follow?
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Why, thank you.
Thank you.